Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of A Northerner in Cornwall in search of King Arthur and a decent pint of bitter. Now, if you listened in last week's episode, you'll remember I did some Cornish dancing, and while I was there in the pub, I did try my hand at trying to speak with a Cornish accent, which went down like a lead balloon. So this week, Tracy thought it would be a good idea if I took Cornish lessons to speak actual Cornish, the language. Because she reckons if we're going to live here permanently, I should integrate. I've barely integrated with Netflix, never mind a whole Celtic tongue. Anyway, I find myself in the community hall on a Tuesday night, sat on a wobbly chair that feels like it was borrowed from a 1970s school canteen. And the teacher is a bloke called Yowen, which is spelt with a J, but pronounced like it's got a silent G. He wears a waistcoat, which immediately makes me suspicious. Anyone teaching a language in a waistcoat is either incredibly clever or completely unhinged. Now, first thing he does is write a word on the board. K-E-R-N-O-W, Kenow. And I'm thinking, oh, I've got this. That's the stuff I scrape off my oven when I've done my fish fingers. But no, apparently it means Cornwall. Tracy sat next to me, is beaming like she's just one mastermind. I got it right. You'll get the hang of it, love. It's a beautiful language. Beautiful. Looks like someone sneezed onto a Scrabble board. Anyway, Yowen makes us all stand up and introduce ourselves in Cornish. Now, I don't mind saying hello, I'm Paul in English. I mean, I've been practicing it for years. Quite good at it now. Not an expert, but I'm getting there. But in Cornish, it comes out like I've swallowed a wasp halfway through. Mitten da how hanau you Paul. Sounds a cross between German and Welsh to me. Anyway, I look around the room and there's Gwen. Oh, she had to be there, didn't she? She's nodding along as I've just recited Shakespeare. I mean, she's there for everything, isn't she? While swimming, sea shanties, bake-offs, no Cornish lessons. Honestly, if Cornwall declared independence, Gwen would be crowned queen and nobody would argue. Anyway, halfway through the lesson, this Yowen tries to make it fun by teaching us Cornish proverbs. You know, little phrases to live by. So he says one, dead serious. Gansol and fires ag all an pow, which apparently means with all the fields and all the land. And everyone nods like it's profound. And I'm sat there thinking, mate, it sounds like the start of a dodgy estate agent brochure. And still sounds German. Then comes the pronunciation practice. So he's got us rolling our R's like we're revving motorbikes. I give it a go. Nearly coughed up a kidney. Tracy's sat next to me, rolling hers perfectly, of course, looking smug. Like she's suddenly become fluent. See, Paul, it's not that hard. Not that hard? My tongue's got cramp. I didn't know tongues could get cramp. And at one point, this Erwin corrected me so many times, I thought he was going to issue me with a bloody ASBO for crimes against vowels. Now, at the end of the night, I'd managed one full sentence, which was, Mitten da au hanau you Paul, ha maya diau diwath Wigan, which means, good morning, my name is Paul, and I come from Wigan. / Goulburn. Everybody clapped. Tracy nearly cried. Gwen even shouted, Canal Bisviken, which means Cornwall forever, or whatever it is with a German accent. And you know what? I felt proud. Not because I'd learned anything, because I'd not. I mean, I still don't know if I was saying I'm Paul from Wigan / Goulburn or I'm Paul and my trousers on fire. But because, for one brief moment, I almost looked like I belonged. Well, almost. Then this Yowen asked if I'd like to sign up for the advanced class. I had to think about it. No thanks, mate. I've I've already got one language and I can't use that properly. So after that, well, Tracy decided I'd be better off to do something a little bit more outdoorsy, a bit more physical. So she signs me up for Cornish wrestling. Yes, I kid you not. See, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's basically like normal wrestling, except you do it in a field, wearing a stiff canvas jacket, and everyone watching pretends it's all perfectly normal. So it's a lovely afternoon. We arrive at this training session behind our local pub. There's a proper little ring roped off. There's about 20 locals stood round it with pints in hand. And this old fella looks like he'd been wrestling since Cornwall was in short trousers. And this bloke named Cyril comes over and he's the coach. He takes one look at me, raises an eyebrow and says, "We'll start you off gentle," which is never a good sign. Didn't like the sound of that at all. So the first lesson was stance. Cyril makes me squat like a crab, knees bent, arms wide, jacket collar gripped in both hands. Now apparently this is the traditional way. I, however, look less like a proud Cornish warrior and more like a man desperately searching for a public toilet. Second lesson was the throw. So Cyril demonstrates by grabbing Trevor the farmer. Now, Trevor the farmer is built like a tractor, but with one swift movement, he sends him flying through the air. I mean, everyone claps. So, I try the same thing on a lad called Jamie, who weighs about as much as a box of biscuits. I heave, strain, grunt, nothing. Jamie doesn't budge an inch. He's laughing, I'm wheezing, and Tracy's shouting from the sidelines, "Bend your knees, love." You know, as though I'm going to suddenly turn myself into like The Rock. Third lesson is balance. So Cyril tells me to plant my feet like a tree, solid, unmoving. Except the only thing unmoving was Jamie, who promptly yanked me forward and had me face down in the grass before I'd even worked out which way was up. Gwen nearly spat her pasty out laughing. "Go on, Jamie boy, show him how it's done." I'm like, "Oh, lovely support, Gwen. Thank you. That's my neighbour, ladies and gentlemen." Oh, finally, it's time for a practice bout. So Cyril pairs me up naturally with Trevor the farmer. Of course he does. Trevor could possibly wrestle a combined arm wrestler and win. So we square up. I've got sweaty hands, a jacket that smells faintly of wet dog, and a crowd baying for me blood. We grip collars, crouch down, and within 3 seconds Trevor has hoisted me into the air. I kid you not, I was airborne. I saw the top of the pub roof. I saw my life flash before my eyes. And then I landed with such force, I'm fairly sure the earth shifted slightly on its axis. Crowd went wild. I didn't know Cornish people could cheer that loud. Gwen was wearing a scarf like she was at Wembley Stadium, chanting, "Down he goes, down he goes." Tracy, meanwhile, she just sat there calmly, sipping a tea, like this is all completely normal. So I get up, brush myself off. I demand a rematch. I'm Northern, right? We don't give up that easy. Big mistake. This time, Trevor doesn't even bother with a fancy move. He just gives me like a gentle nudge, and down I go again, like a deck chair collapsing in a light breeze. By the end of it, I've had 3 fights and lost all 3. Oh, and discovered a whole new collection of aches in parts of my body that I didn't even know existed. But on the plus side, I did earn a nickname from the locals. Yeah, they're now calling me Flat Pack Paul, because apparently I go down quicker than an IKEA bookcase. And you know what? I'll take that. I'll take it, because at least IKEA is popular. And flat pack furniture, well, you know, it's part of the home, just like me, apparently, except with more screws missing. That's probably me, not the furniture. So after surviving the wrestling debacle, Tracy decided it was time to ease me into a slightly less life-threatening Cornish tradition, scone making. Thank the Lord for that. Hey, and not just any scones. Oh no, the perfect Cornish scone. Jam and cream applied in the correct order, of course. Because she reckons if I can master this, I'll finally blend in. Or at least stop looking like a clueless northern tourist. So we arrive at the community kitchen in Launceston, and it smells of sugar and flour and ambition. There's Gwen, naturally, wearing a flour-dusted apron and looking like she's out to conquer the world one scone at a time. She's immediately ropes in two other locals. There was this cheerful elderly man called Bert, who insists on singing while he kneads the dough, and a young woman, Lila, who looks far too relaxed for this to end well. So the instructor, the chef, cook, whatever you want to call her, was a woman called Mrs. Penrose, whose hair was so perfectly styled it should come with a health warning. Never moved. So she comes up, greets us with a clipboard and a glare. Today you will learn how to make scones properly, she says. Jam first or cream first? I asked cautiously. She stared at me like I just suggested microwaving a pasty. Gwen comes over, whispers in my ear. It's cream first, Paul. Don't make me correct you in public. Oh, all right, Gwen, calm down. So, step 1, mixing the dough. Now, Bert immediately gets carried away singing We Will Rock You while pounding the flour like it's a drum solo. Lila is delicately folding the mixture like a professional patisserie. A proper chef. And I'm, I'm attempting to combine ingredients without creating a flour explosion. Not going great. Tracy leans over, trying to guide me. Fold, Paul, don't stir. Fold, Paul, don't stir. She says it again, now a bit louder. I whisper back, hey, I didn't realise scones require yoga. Step 2, shaping of the scone. Now, Mrs. Penrose demonstrates the perfect round scone. Gwen immediately molds hers into a star. Bert decides that his should be shaped like a tractor. And Lila rolls hers perfectly. And me, well, I end up with something resembling a squashed hedgehog. Step 3, baking. We pop them all in the oven and wait. I did take the opportunity to sneak a lick of jam and cream, just a taste test. Bert gave me a loot that could curdle milk. Anyway, while we're waiting, the kitchen it's filled with laughter and there's flour clouds everywhere and the occasional minor jam splash on the walls. Finally, the moment of truth, assembling the scones. So Mrs. Penrose watches as Gwen smears cream with artistic precision and jam with flair. Tracy carefully balances hers and Lila creates something almost Instagram worthy. And I, Flat Pack Paul, I smear jam and cream in what can only be described as controlled disaster. Gwen leans over, snorts, flicks a bit of cream at my nose. That's what you get for trying to be clever, she says. I flick it back, which promptly lands on Bert's tractor scone. Absolute chaos ensues. There's flour and jam flying everywhere. Lila attempts a graceful intervention, but Bert is now wearing half a scone in his sleeve. Tracy sighs, laughing, says, you've turned a simple lesson into a battlefield. But at the end, the scones are edible, slightly lopsided and covered in flour and jam. But we all taste them anyway. And you know what? Despite the mess, the squashed hedgehogs and Bert's tractor, it's brilliant. Everybody's laughing. Everybody's having a good time. Everyone's sticky. And I genuinely feel I can become part of the local community. Well, at least until Gwen flicks the last blob of cream at me. Tracy leans over and whispers, well, Paul, integration achieved. I look down at my cream-covered jumper and I think, you know what? She's right. This is Cornwall. This is home. And also, I'm probably banned from scone lessons for life. Now, as most of you know, and if you don't, me and Tracy, we just love amateur dramatics. We love the theatre. We're both involved at Wigan Little Theatre for many, many years. Just love it. And we've been trying to find somewhere. And eventually, we've found somewhere. It's quite local. We saw it advertised on Facebook. And it was for a read-through of a Christmas pantomime. Just a read-through. So we thought, you know what? It sounds interesting. Let's go down. So we arrived at the village hall. There was a group of locals that were already sitting down with scripts in their hand, ready to tackle Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, leading them, stood at the front, is a fellow called Sebastian, our director. Now, Sebastian has clearly done one Shakespeare play in his life and now fancies himself as like Olivier incarnate. He's wearing like this red velvet jacket with scarf flapping dramatically. Always committed. So anyway, we get introduced to the rest of the people there. There was Maggie, a retired librarian, who insists on whispering all her lines to maintain, her character. There's Clive, a postman who believes everything should be performed in rhyme. I deliver letters, I rhyme with betters. It's proudly. That doesn't even make sense. There was Patricia, a retired nurse, very serious woman, constantly checking everyone's health mid-line. Paul, are you breathing correctly? Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Who else was there? Oh, there was Derek, an ex-mechanic, loves sound effects. If there's a tree in the scene, he will make it sound like it creaks for real. There was Helen, a drama student from town, takes everything like personal and serious. She's like, oh, that line was delivered wrong, Paul. You ruined the entire scene. I'm like, all right, Cole, take it easy. And there was Colin, a farmer, who interrupts constantly with like Cornish trivia. Like, did you know the real golden goose lays eggs at dawn? He said. No, I didn't. Thanks for that, Colin. Yeah, I'll use that somewhere. Tracy's quietly reading a line, smiling indulgently at the chaos while I'm just trying to keep up. Anyway, Sebastian claps his hands, he's ready. Right, everyone, we should begin the read-through. Now remember, emotion, pathos and clarity. So, we start off, first scene, Jack enters, the beanstalk's mentioned, and Clive insists on rhyming. The beanstalk's tall, it touches the hall. Maggie whispers every word so no one hears her, and Patricia asks midline, Paul, is your heart rate normal? Derek makes a groaning sound every time a line mentions the tree, and Ellen just like rolls her eyes all the time dramatically. Oh, and Colin. Actually, Jack should have been planting those beans in May, not March. What's he talking about? I have a look at Tracy. She's like biting her fist, holding back a laughing. I just said, I thought read-throughs were just reading the script. Apparently not. Anyway, by the time Sebastian tells me to deliver Jack's line about climbing the beanstalk, I'm exhausted. Climb it, Paul. Feel the beanstalk. I hold my script like a life raft, imagining the height of this imaginary vegetable. Maggie's whispering her lines again. Can't understand a bloody word she's saying. Clive's rhyming everything. Pat's checking my pulse. Derek creaks in the air. Helen sighs like she's seen the apocalypse, and Colin just offers more trivia. I'm like, can't be doing. Let me do the next scene then. When the giant appears. So Colin informs us that the giant's height should be 12 feet. Again, Clive rhymes all his lines. Sebastian starts acting out a villainous glare at the back of the room. I says to Tracy, I've been hit by a beanstalk, a giant, and 6 different personalities all at once. Anyway, tea break arrives. Thank God for that. And the conversations, folks, are absolutely priceless. So I just get chatting with people, Maggie. I can't help whispering. It's always brought up. Clive, if we don't rhyme, the beanstalk loses its meaning. What? Oh, right, yeah. Patricia, Paul, do you need a quick heart check before we continue? No, I don't, and that's not where my pulse is. Derek, trees make the best sound effects. Don't underestimate them. I won't, Derek. I've hugged one, so I won't underestimate them. Helen sat there stony-faced. "Oh, Paul, you need to project more emotion, even in a read-through." "Right. Yeah, I'll do my best, Helen." "Oh, and Colin, by the way, the goose scene is historically inaccurate." "Right, okay. I'm sure the history books won't mind us changing it." Tracy sits there, sipping her tea, trying not to laugh, while I just grin at the absolute absurdity of it all. Tea break finishes, so we'll get back to the read-through. Every line's now a battle. Clive's still rhyming. Maggie's still whispering everything. Derek groans on cue. Helen critiques. Colin interjects Cornish facts. Sebastian is waving his scarf around like a general, insisting I embody the spirit of Jack in the Cornish pantomime tradition. I'm reading a line, trying not to collapse in laughter. "Oh, magical beanstalk, take me to the giant." I have a quick look at Clive, who rhymes, "Oh, magical bean, tall and green." Honestly, Tracy just gives me this sympathetic look. By the end of the read-through, I've endured 6 characters' quirks, Sebastian's over-the-top direction, and my own internal sarcasm running at full speed, but I survived. And more importantly, honestly, I laughed harder than I have in weeks. And I think, yeah, this is Cornwall, this is local life, and somehow I'm part of it. Absurdity and all. Sebastian claps. "Oh, a triumph! A masterclass in pantomime. This is going to be truly memorable." I look at Tracy. "A masterclass in patience, more like." She says, "You'll thank me later." Will I? Oh, I glance around at Maggie, Clive, Patricia, Derek, Helen and Colin, all buzzing with energy. And somehow I do feel part of the chaos. Flatpack Paul, dramatic legend, survivor of the read-through. Who knew such an event can be so exhausting, but so entertaining at the same time? Right, so after surviving the read-through, 6 new personalities, Sebastian's dramatic flirt, and more rhymes than I thought a beanstalk could support, it's time for the first actual rehearsal, not just reading lines. Now we're moving, gesturing, and apparently expressing emotion through body language. Oh joy. So we arrive at the hall. Sebastian's already mid-monologue, pacing and waving his scarf like a general about to lead an army into battle. I said to Tracy, "If he starts flinging invisible swords, I'm out." She just said, "You'll probably try." Maggie's first to greet me. "Paul, I've been thinking, you need to master the art of being quiet. My grandmother used to nod at the slightest gesture." "Oh, right." I just nod back, silently imagine a grandmother wagging a finger at me. Clive bends over. "Paul, do you rhyme naturally, or do I need to coach you?" Well, just give me a demonstration. What do you mean, Clive?" "The beanstalk grows tall beyond the wall, with beans so green, they've rarely been seen." I just nod politely, thinking this is going to be a long rehearsal. Patricia, ever the nurse, checks me over. "Paul, your posture is slightly off. Shoulders back and breathe deeply. And remember, pantomime is a cardiovascular activity." I wonder if she also measures heart rate during furry scenes. Derek shuffles in, carrying a box of props. "Paul, trees must grow properly. You'll learn. The audience expects realism." I just mumble something about realistic vegetables while picturing my fate if the giant ever drops a tree on me. Helen comes in. Ever dramatic. "Paul, you've got to project vulnerability. Show me the audience your inner despair." I just said, "Helen, it's Jack climbing a beanstalk, not Hamlet at Elsinore." She just glared at me. Then Colin appeared from the back, holding a goose prop. "Paul, remember golden geese lay eggs at dawn." Right. Yeah, okay, I've got that, Colin. Thank you for that. I will never be ready for this level of historical accuracy. Anyway, Sebastian calls all to start. Today we shall block the first scene. Tracy's laughing. So, as we begin, I'm paired with Maggie for a short scene. She whispers every word. I project excessively, and Sebastian cries, "You must inhabit the dialogue." Maggie just nods solemnly, unaware that she's barely audible. I just whisper, "Yeah, whatever." Clive joins me with his rhymes. "Oh, Paul the Beanstalk looms beyond these rooms." I just automatically try to rhyme back, which comes out as, "It's green and tall, hope I don't fall." Sebastian pauses and stirs impressed. I just shrug my shoulders at one accidental poetic line. During the next scene, I attempt to practice showing despair to Helen's furry character. She gasps and just says, "Oh, your anguish is palpable." I'm like, "Palpable? I'm sweating from climbing a chair." Patricia stops in. She just steps. Paul, again, check your pulse." I just look at her. "Is there a first aid kit for overacting?" Derek suddenly groans in perfect synchrony with the imaginary beanstalk creaking. I can't stop laughing. The tree sounds disturbingly real. Colin then pops in with a fact about Cornish folklore. "Did you know a proper beanstalk scene should include a rhyme about the sunrise?" "Ah, right, yeah, okay, yeah, thanks for that, mate." Anyway, thankfully it was the tea break. So anyway, we sit down. Maggie's telling me about her lifelong love of pantomime and how she once played a convincing giant in a school production. She's fierce, quiet and completely committed. Clive keeps rhyming everything, including the contents of his biscuit tin. Patricia quizzes me on my heart rate, posture and general wellness. I start worrying if my coffee intake is dramatic enough. Derek demonstrates groaning techniques on a chair. "Trees must sound authentic," he insisted. "Oh, right. Yeah, okay." Helen just analyses everything, like me every gesture, giving feedback that somehow is both crushing and hilarious. I thank her for it. And then Clive drops trivia bombs, continuously insisting that it's essential to understanding the beanstalk magic. By the end of the first rehearsal, I'm just knackered. Flow from the previous scone lesson is still on my jumper, my back aches from climbing imaginary ropes, and my brain is full of rhymes, groans and historical goose facts. But you know what, it's brilliant. I've bonded with the cast, laughed more than I have in months, and somehow survived Sebastian's dramatic flair. Tracy leans over, smiles, and just says, "You're going to love the next rehearsal." "Oh, yeah, love, yeah, can't wait." But secretly, I know she's right. This chaos is exactly the kind of Cornish adventure that I've been waiting for. So following the chaos of our first rehearsal, I wondered how the second could possibly top it. But Cornwall, I've learned, has a strange way of amplifying absurdity. So there we have it. Episode 5 in all its chaotic Cornish glory, from my first lesson in the Cornish language, or rather attempts at not sounding like a baffled tourist, to ice cream disasters, the scone lesson, Cornish wrestling, and of course, our ever more absurd pantomime read-throughs and rehearsals. I've met 6 new Cornish characters, and they're now firmly embedded in my life. And of course, Sebastian, our director, who's firmly convinced he's Olivier reincarnated, velvet skirt drama and everything. Tracy survived alongside me, shaking her head at my sarcasm, laughing at the chaos, and gently reminding me that yes, Cornish life is indeed this mad. And somehow, I'm like falling right into it. So if there's a lesson from today's adventure, it's that Cornish theatre life is here. It's utterly unpredictable, slightly ridiculous, and completely wonderful. And while I may never master the groan of a prop tree, rhyme naturally like Clive, or whisper like Maggie, I do know this. I've survived, laughed, and made a few friends along the way. So, until next week, when I suspect more chaos awaits, probably involving costumes, props, or some new Cornish tradition I've yet to discover, remember this. Whether it's a beanstalk, a scone, or a particular judgmental golden goose, there's always room for sarcasm, chocolate, and a cup of tea. So, I'll sign off for this episode from the wonderfully absurd world of Cornwall. flat pat Paul, dramatic legend, and occasional beanstalk climber. So until next week, I'll see you.